Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be making pork chops. And these are not your mama's pork chops. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I only got to have pork chops two ways. Either they were deep fried or my mom baked them and smothered them with gravy. But today we are going to be roasting them with some really good herbs and onions and garlic. And then we're also going to make a nice sauce. It's kind of like a pecan sauce, but with a little different twist. So if you guys are ready, I'm going to go ahead and prep the pork chops. So these pork chops have been rinsed and patted dry. So I'm going to take some kosher salt, and can't really measure how much salt. To me, I personally just do it by taste. So if you're not a big salt lover, you could just lightly do it. Just going to coat that nicely with the salt. Then I'm going to take some pepper. Just go over it lightly with pepper. And we're going to just go ahead and flip this over. Just rinse my hands really quick. Okay, and we're just going to do the other side the same way. Probably should have dried my hands off after rinsing them because now the salt is stuck to them. Okay, so next we're going to take some garlic. And we're just going to, I have it sliced. You can dice it if you want, but I just think slicing it kind of just helps keep the flavor in, especially when it comes to roasting. So I'm just going to sprinkle it lightly across the onion, the pork chops. Now we're going to take some onion rings and just lay them over the pork chops as well. This is a really easy recipe and it tastes really good, and people will think that you're fancy for doing your pork chops like this. It's just delicious. Okay, now we're going to take some fresh rosemary sprigs and just kind of rake it over the pork chops. This is what really gives this recipe like an amazing flavor. All right, and now last we're going to take some parsley and just lightly sprinkle it over the pork chops. Okay, now let's get our delicious olive oil and just drizzle it over. Pretty much you want to do about a tablespoon like per pork chop. And we're not going to cover these. We're going to put them in the oven. Oh yeah, and one tip, when you're using foil with meat, try to put it on the matte side. You don't want to use the shiny side because the meat tends to stick on there. So let's go ahead and put in our oven. Our oven is at 375. Go ahead, slide that in there. All right. Now for our asparagus. I love asparagus. I can pretty much eat it plain, but I know some people don't like it that way. So right now I have some asparagus. I cut the tips off. I like to do about an inch up because if you don't, the tips are really like woody and just stringy. So we're gonna just sprinkle it with some kosher salt, a little pepper, and then again with some olive oil. These you kind of just want to toss together so that they get coated with the salt and the pepper. And if this is just too plain for you, you can go ahead and add a lemon to it. Just squirt some lemon juice on there and to give it a less harsh taste, because I know some people think asparagus can be kind of funky. All right, we're going to set this to the side because we don't want to put this in the oven until our pork chops are pretty much done. So next, we need to go ahead and make our sauce. This sauce is so good. This is like one of my favorites. You just basically need to get some fresh tomatoes. If you don't have fresh tomatoes, you can also use canned diced tomatoes. It makes it a lot easier. I have 2 cups of sliced tomatoes. I have a tablespoon of a spicy red chili, and then I have a tablespoon of basil, fresh basil, and then 2 tablespoons of butter for this sauce. Also, we have a cup of sliced mushrooms and then 1 tablespoon of shallots. So let's go ahead and start our sauce. So for our sauce, I have I guess you could say it's a medium-sized saucepan, and we're gonna put our 2 tablespoons of butter in there and just let that kind of melt. I use unsalted butter just because when you use salted butter, it just can kind of mess up what you want to do with your seasoning. So this way you can kind of control what's happening there. So we're going to go ahead and let that melt. While that's doing its own thing, I just want to, for another side that we're going to do today, it's some mashed cauliflower. It's really good, and it's just a nice alternative to potatoes. So in there I have 1 full head of cauliflower and 1 cup of water, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so our butter is melting. Pretty much done. So we're going to add our 1 cup of mushrooms and our 1 tablespoon of shallots. Just put that all in there. You want to kind of just give it a toss so that it's completely coated with the butter. You want to have it on kind of high because you want the mushrooms to get nice and brown. Alright, so while the mushrooms are browning, let's start our cauliflower. So the cauliflower you actually want to do on low because you kind of want to have a steaming kind of effect. Alright, so just have that on low and just let that steam. This is going to be really good, guys, I promise. As you can see, our mushrooms are getting nice and brown. So now let's go ahead and add our delicious tomatoes. Now make sure your tomatoes are ripe, like so ripe that they're kind of bruised. This just makes them sweeter and it just helps the sauce along better. Again, you don't have to use fresh tomatoes. You can use just diced tomatoes out of the can, but I just like the way it tastes with the fresh tomatoes. I just want to stir that around, keep it on high. Just let that kind of absorb all that nice fat from the butter and then that earthy taste from the mushrooms. It's just really good. Okay, so while those are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and add in about a 1/2 cup of chicken stock. Kind of just go around and just smush your tomatoes down. Alright, and we want to add our chilies. If you're not a fan of spicy food, then I suggest not making this sauce, because it is pretty spicy with the chilies. I even have extra chili in reserve just in case that was not enough chilies. So yeah. Now let's add in 1/2 of our basil, not the full amount, just 1/2. And then we need to add in a little bit of vinegar. We have some white wine vinegar. We're going to add about 2 tablespoons. You can use white wine too if you like, but the white wine vinegar just gives it a nice like acidic flavor. It just cuts with the pork chops really nice. So we're going to keep this on high so that it can thicken and up something, you know, the liquid can just cook out. Okay, so you see our sauce is starting to thicken and the liquid is kind of evaporating. So let me just go ahead and taste it. I like to taste the sauce before I season it just so I can know what to put in there. You don't want to just go in there blind. It's really good, but definitely needs some salt. So take a pretty large pinch of kosher salt, and just put that in there twice. And stir that around. And we're going to add the rest of our basil. And then, of course, some nice black pepper. And I think it does need to be spicier, so I'm going to go ahead and add that extra chili I had. So that would change the recipe to 2 tablespoons of red chilies. Add a pinch more black pepper. Alright, I'm going to turn the sauce down on low. So our pork chops are still cooking. They can still marinate and just thicken up. Just go ahead and taste it one more time. It's really good, guys. I wish you could taste it. It's really good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and add a cup of chicken stock to our cauliflower. And then we're going to add some salt and a little bit of pepper, just a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and recover it and then turn the heat up. So this way the cauliflower will absorb the chicken stock and the salt, and the flavor would be all the way through there. And then we'll go ahead and mash it after everything gets absorbed. Okay. Now, let's check on our cauliflower. I'll take a small knife and just poke through it, and it's coming up clear. So that means the cauliflower is done. So I'm going to turn this heat down on low. I'm going to pour out some of the liquid from the cauliflower. A tablespoon of liquid left in there, but not too much, because we're going to add some of this chicken stock to that. Now I still have the flame on low, so I'm just going to go in with the whisk. If you have a masher, that's great. Just go in and just crumple up everything. You kind of want to do it in a turning motion. Then we're going to add in half a cup of chicken stock. And just really go at it with the whisk and just kind of mash it. Now I'm just going to kind of stir it in there. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. Just stir that in there. And then we're going to grab some sour cream. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of sour cream. Yep, it'll go inside the pot. You can also use ricotta cheese. That tastes really good in here too. I'm going to kind of stir it around some more. And then we're going to recover it and let it continue to cook for about 10 more minutes. Alright, so while that is cooking for 10 more minutes, we're going to add in our asparagus because our pork chops are almost done. And you can cover them if you want, but I want mine to be kind of browned on the outside. So let's go ahead and shove that in there. Right. So let's go ahead and give it one last little mash. a little more pepper. And some more salt. I think we're good to go. You know what actually will be really good in here? I'm going to add just out of it some parsley. I'm going to do a small pinch, so probably about a teaspoon. Just stir it in there. All right. Now let's take out our pork chops. All right, so let's begin plating. Our pork chops are nice and juicy, and they are done. So we're just going to take a scoop of the cauliflower mash. Just place it on the bottom of the plate. Yes. And place our beautiful pork chop. Actually, let's do it this side down since that part got nice and crispy. Now we're going to take our sauce and just kind of scoop it over the pork chop. Just go ahead and just give it to you. Place it on top of our pork chop. It's so hot. All right, bon appetit. Eat away and let me know what you guys think after you guys try out this recipe.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is